All right, so today we're going to tie our Killer Whiskers on a number 6 CS42AR. Beautiful little bomber hook. And we're going to start off with some white power thread in a 100 denier or denier, I don't know, whatever. All right. So we're going to bring this down to the back. Doesn't matter, you tie on the front wings or the back first, but we'll go with the back. I'm going to put a little bit of a longer tail and wings on this Killer Whiskers because that's how I prefer to fish them, and I am likely going to be fishing this one. I also like to tie these with a bit of a skinnier body than what I would typically use. So I'm just going to give that just a few taps. Doesn't need to be like a paintbrush, but it'll be somewhat lined up. And I'm just going to cut off a little bit of that extra stuff there. Let's tie that in. So these style bombers are really big in the Quebec Gaspé region. Not so much here in Newfoundland where I'm located. We tend to go with just a normal bomber with front wing and tail, and we do a straight body right up and down the full hook and not a front collar. I'm positive they would work here, but it's just the way that we've tied our bombers compared to other people for the same species. So we're going to put in our front wing now, and I am going to give that a little bit of a tap there just because I want to get those tips all up near the top of the wing. But what I'm going to do is when I take this out, I'm going to roll it around in my fingers a bit. Because when I'm doing these style wings with the split wing, I find it nicer to have a little bit of a taper on each wing instead of just having it, again, like that paintbrushy look. And that will work. So I'm going to have it a little bit longer than my tail. And we're going to tie it a little bit back further than we would normally tie a normal bomber because this is going to be kind of buried into our front collar or front hackle. I even want it out a little bit further than that. I like a really long front wing on these style bombers. Now I'm just pulling it out a bit there, kind of controlled. And we're just going to finish tying that in and bring our thread towards the back. Guys, I mentioned in other videos about this Textreme thread. The power thread is out of this world. Very small, very strong, excellent for spinning hair. It doesn't cut into hair like other small, powerful threads. All right. So what I have here is Shore Fishing's deer body from Natural, and I like this stuff. It's got it's a bit softer, which I'm kind of liking spinning, and it's a green. Like it leaves a nice green color for this fly. So yeah. That a few wraps, and I'm just gonna untrap some of these fibers, and I'm just gonna give that a little brush back there, bring my thread ahead, and do one more. This is only the butt section of this. This color pattern works extremely well. I use this on regular bombers too. There we go. So I'm going to try to just compress that a little bit, bring that deer hair back. I had a little bit of a hiatus from doing videos, guys, and I apologize for anybody who was kind of looking for a video from me. My life's been crazy busy. But I had a spot opened up today, and I've done a few videos, so hopefully release all of them soon. All right, and we're just kind of looking at our color separation there. It looks pretty decent from my angle. I think we're good. And I'm just going to tighten that up a bit. So this is natural roe deer. If you guys haven't heard about me talk about roe deer in other videos, it's absolutely amazing. I love this stuff. Almost zero under fur. Very soft. But roe deer, the pelts that you get are not very big. They're about the size of a large dog. Or medium even. So we're just making a couple looser wraps. And then we bring it around and tighten in. And I think I'm not going to leave a space like I normally would for this style bomber. And if I do, it's going to be a very small space because I'm going to wrap that hackle right into the deer hair for that front collar. It's kind of another thing I really love about fly tying is that there's always new ways to do things. You discover ways that you're like, oh, cool, you know, and especially I love it when you get that info from somebody else that wants to share it and just genuinely wants to help. All right, so we're going to leave that tape down, and I'm just going to tie this off just with a simple knot. Trapped a few deer hair there. That's not going to be an issue. I'm not worried about it. All right, so now comes trim time. I'm just going to get a little something here to put it in. It's just a little plastic bin. And I'm going to use TMCO straight for these. TMCO is making these straight scissors again, which is excellent news. Guys, anybody hung up on looking for curved, could just go with the straight because you can do bombers no problem with the straight. So as I'm going, I'm just kind of watching my horizon on this. When I say horizon, as I mentioned in other videos, like as I'm spinning, I'm just looking and seeing what's out of place. We're going to trim up the back here so we know where we stop and end. That'll help us decide on our final body shape. I think I had already mentioned, but if I haven't, I really like this pattern with a skinny body, and I am starting to prefer my bombers with a skinnier body for my own personal fishing. So again, I'm going to tie it the way I like to fish it. So I'm just kind of getting that end butt section there how I want it to look when it's done, and then I'll shape the rest of the bomber around that. So that's right about where I want to be. And now it's just time for some fine tuning. Oops. Using manual focus on my camera, so when my vise moves I need to check to make sure it's still in focus. we're getting right about where I want it to be. It's pretty skinny. Alright, I'm just going to get rid of this bin. Take that tape off the front, because now we're going to work on that front wing and get that in place. We're going to switch over our threads now. I'm going to go with a black and a Textreme standard in an 8/0. Another great finishing thread. This is what I use for wet flies a lot, but it's also a great finishing thread for bombers. So it's going to penetrate the body really well on this, and you get a lot of wraps in without adding a lot of bulk. Alright, so we're going to get that wing propped up. We're going to start off by doing kind of a figure 8 thing. And then we'll go with a thread dam. And yeah, that's looking good. So now we got to find a way to, not find a way, we are going to split this wing into 2 equal parts to make the wing or the horns. So we just kind of eyeball that. And then, so I'll hold one and I'll come around and then I'll hold the other and I'll come around again. Jeez. All right. So now that I got those split, now it's time to clean them up a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead with that thread dam a little bit more. Going to come around and do that figure 8 again. And something got really messed up there, guys. I apologize. I won't cut this out because shit happens. Alright, so I'm just going back again and trying to, one of my threads must have slipped over on me. That's alright. And you're playing with these constantly and just teasing them. Getting them to where you want them to be. And I think I'm pretty much there. All right. So we're going to bring our thread up by the head there, and we are going to get our hackle now. For these style bombers, this Shore genetic half saddle, or you can get full saddles, is extremely cool. And the reason why is because these feathers have a nice little taper in the fiber. So this fly, in my opinion, looks best, obviously, when you have a nice long bushy collar up here and it kind of tapers back a bit. I'll try to choose a piece that will do that. If not, it'll still look great with all the same size. I shouldn't talk while I'm trying to think about stuff because I say things that doesn't make sense sometimes, but oh yeah, that's looking nice. I think so. All right, so we're going to start at the butt end of this saddle feather and just strip off a little bit there. We're going to tie in. And just loop back over with the stem and tie that. And we're going to start our wraps. We're getting nice long fibers coming from that. You want that front collar to be pretty full, so you get as many of those wraps in there as you can. And it helps prop up your wing a bit too. And I'm going to come back on that deer hair a little bit as well and fill that in. And maybe one more. Yeah, that should do. Then I'm just going to do my body wraps. I think you're kind of aiming for 5 here, but I don't know. Yeah, we'll probably get it. So it didn't taper as much as I'd like it to. Honestly, I'm really not concerned at all about that. And we're just going to start manipulating our thread through this collar now, because really the thread's going to protect your collar on the hook, and it doesn't have the deer hair to protect it, so it could come apart pretty easy. So those thread wraps are going to help a lot. And we're going to bring it back up through, and we're just watching it as it penetrates through that deer hair, making sure we're not trapping too much. You're going to trap some. Ooh, one of those wraps on your guys' side was pretty wonky. How come you didn't tell me about that? Right, and just bring that through up here, and you're eventually going to end up at the head, and just kind of pull everything back and form your head, and make sure you're not getting any fibers poking out. Got one there. All right, I'm going to tie off. And this 8/0 is nice, strong stuff too. It's not like the strongest of power thread, but it's for an 8/0. It's I gotta say, it's really nice. So that is our Killer Whiskers. I'm going to hit this with a little bit of head cement, and as I always do, I always put a little bit in the back, because why not? Doesn't have to be a lot. It won't affect the floating of it, but it may be the reason why your hackle stays in sometimes. I always put a tiny bit on the front collar as well. That's going to help. And of course your head, and I'll come back and hit that once or twice more. Make a nice finish on the head. Killer Whiskers, guys. Great fly. So thank you all very much for watching, and until I see you next time, take care.